Listen, Disney made a horrible mistake. And to my Christian friends, you're probably going to make the same mistake. And you won't even see it coming. Here's why. Disney's in a bit of a predicament. They tried to do something that was heartfelt, but in the end, it came back and bit them. Let me explain. In fact, you know what? Just check this out real quick.
Chadwick Boseman gave Disney and Marvel one of their biggest hit movies ever, but now years after he's passed away, his brother's upset with how Disney's handling his character. Black Panther, when it came out in 2018, was the most successful non-Avengers Marvel movie, making $1.3 billion on a budget of $200 million. Sadly, in August of 2020, Chadwick Boseman, at the age of 43, lost his battle to cancer, and from that, there was no one to fill the role of Black Panther. The new rule that Disney and Marvel put in place where no actor outside of Chadwick Boseman can play or voice the character of T'Challa. This has angered Chadwick Boseman's brother Kevin, saying this is not a good thing for the black community. Saying it's not right there's been 10 white Superman but can only be one Black Panther and a new actor should replace his brother. Which is both selfless and a good take, and with that...
Disney's known for catering to the child population, right? For catering to the child demographic. However, it's really important when you're catering to the child demographic that not only that you have something that is for children, but emotionally you don't necessarily act like them because you're teaching them how to respond. What do I mean by that? Knee-jerk reactions are extremely emotional, extremely heartfelt. However, if you're not intentional in how you respond to a particular situation, you'll find yourself at a point where, well, the knee-jerk reaction is a little too abrupt and not necessarily thinking into the future. It's short-sighted. Why do I keep saying that? When Disney made a promise, which the promise that they were making was really to the black community. When Disney made a promise that they were not going to recast the position of Black Panther to anyone else, what they did was, at the time when the race conversation was at its peak, Disney made a decision to reach out to the black community in this decision-making process and make them a promise that in the recasting process that they would honor the black community, right? And this was almost like part of that whole reparations conversation, right? If we think about it, this was part of the reparations conversation. And in doing that, what they did was they said, hey, we can't undo what's happened in the past, but here, let this be something for the black community. We won't recast this. But it was short-sighted in this way. It was short-sighted in saying, here's something that we can give you. I don't mean to be insensitive when I say this. Here's 50 cents. We owe you $50, but here's 50 cents as a token of our goodwill. And why do I say here's 50 cents? I say here's 50 cents because what they did was they pulled at the nostalgia of the Black Panther community, right? We want this set in stone, right? Who Black Panther is, right? What he represents, all the metaphors and everything in his stepping into the spirit realm. He represented something that would last forever. And so when they made this statement, they said, hey, here's something that will last forever and honor the king that he was. But what they did, let's go back to the movie that a lot of Black Panther referenced, which was Lion King. And this is uncanny how it kind of ties together. Okay. Mufasa was the king. Mufasa, T'Challa. Okay. Let's say Mufasa is the one that lives on forever. In the end, what if Scar is not actually an entity? What if Scar is actually the absence? Okay, Mufasa is preparing to move on to a different plane, right? He's preparing to go the way of the ancestors. He's going to die, right? He's fighting with death. Maybe this is Chadwick, right? He is fighting with death. And in the end, death, absence, wins. As Mufasa is thrown from the throne that he has been on, that the land around him, the circle of life, has valued. And as he left, in its place was left a scar. As a little boy, Simba, lion, a potential king, flees from the scar, the absence, the hardship, and the hyenas, that which accompanies death, pain, suffering, hysteria. As he runs from the loss, he is not sure if he's ever going to step into his rightful place. And you may think that it's great to not have a king on the throne, but what happens? The scar remains. The scar, not only does it remain, but that scar becomes a trauma to the very land, to the very circle of life. There is no life with the scar on the throne. There is no life with the absence, only death. And it is not until Simba chooses to step into his rightful place as king that life is once again able to flourish. Now look back at Mufasa. Mufasa understood that he was not the end all be all of the circle of life. He understood that he was a part, he was a role. He was a role model. And in his role, he was a phenomenal king. He was such a phenomenal king that everyone wanted to follow him. Everyone admired him. Except death, which is coming for everyone. But death is a part of the circle of life, as you learn from Rafiki and from which means friend, as you learn from the true friend of life, is that death is just a part of it. But your purpose is so much more than that, and you were meant to be a king. Now, let's go back to Disney and their knee-jerk reaction. Disney's knee-jerk reaction said that there would not be a king on the throne. So now this icon, this role model, is no longer present. And they find ways to include him without including him. But what's left in its place is a scar. And it's not until the next king rises and takes its place that the true economy, that the true universe, the true area of the true Wakanda, right, will not rise, will not prosper in this ecosystem until another king takes its place. Until then, all that's left is a scar. And I think Chadwick Boseman, he understood that he was just a character. He was just a part to play. If you look at his life and the way he did the things that he did, you'll see that he saw that he himself was just a part of this circle of life, of this community. And I think that to truly honor him, it's not to say that no one else will take the throne. It's to find someone like him and have them honor the legacy that he chose to be a part of. This is why his brother is upset. It's not good for the Black community. It was a knee-jerk reaction. Hey, here's something that the Black community might enjoy. But what about the content? What about more opportunities to be led by a role model that actually exemplifies something good, who actually exemplifies something great? What about that? If you truly want to remove the scar, and this is the life lesson for us all, if we truly want to remove the scar, it's not in saying, I will never have this again, right? Part of the Black community. I will never have a Black male over me again. I will never have a leader over me again. I am a strong, independent woman and nobody will lead me, right? This is actually destroying the Black community and not helping it. What we need is to honor the kings, understanding that they're just a role. They don't need to be controlling, but at the same time, understand that the lionesses weren't controlled by the king. They honored and valued the king. And they all operated in this circle of life. The Black community could learn from that. The Black community could learn from Wakanda and not continue fighting for this off-kilter culture. But hear me in this. Disney did not do the black community any favors when they said, we will no longer cast this role. In fact, they injured it. But they also played into something that is more dark, more sinister, which is that if we only stay in the past of nostalgia and never move forward, which is part of the message of Black Panther, if we only stay there, the scar will grow darker. The land will cease to live. And those that would rise and lead us into further goodness no longer have the opportunity to, because they're kept at the gate. And this is a big deal. So Disney, if you watch this, I would recommend that you go back on your statement. And here's why. If you really want to help the black community, like you say you want to help the black community, do things that actually help the black community, and think with foresight. And when you fail to think with foresight, apologize and fix it, so that the people that are following you might actually be benefited in what it is that you have to offer. Iconic role models that share stories of greatness, of trial, of persecution, and of victory. But they truly teach us that it's possible. Even when all odds are against you, it's possible to be successful in your own way. And that is the power, I believe, of Disney. But who am I? I'm just a dad that every once in a while watches Disney movies, hoping for something better. Disney made a mistake, but maybe they can fix it. What do you think? And maybe you've made some mistakes. Or maybe you found yourself at a place in your life where you're struggling and you've lost your sense of purpose. Maybe you found yourself at a place where you, like Simba, are in the Hakuna Matata phase. It means no worries, running away from your problems and oblivious to the fact that it's actually still killing you. Running away from your marriage, running away from your children, running away from your responsibilities. And if that's you, I want to encourage you to join me in what I'm calling the Fatherhood Challenge. A challenge to myself to be the best dad that I can be. A challenge to myself to push myself, finding one small area to move out of the areas where I've been stuck in, right? In the areas where the addictions of my own, right? And for me, maybe that's dopamine, right? The addictions that we find ourselves in, they only hold us trapped. When we find the slimy yet satisfying things where everything seems to work together, but in the end, it's actually just a smoke screen. It's actually a time of rest. It really is. The Hakuna Matata phase, it's a time of rest. But at some point, you have to get back to the pride land. You have to take a sense of pride, a different kind of pride, right? The kind of pride where you take ownership for that which is valuable to you. At some point, you have to get back to Pride Rock and have to put things back into the right standing and put things back in order and take back authority from the absence of fatherhood, from the scar that has been left in its place. And so if that's you, I want to encourage you, man, just comment fatherhood and I'll send you over a link to the challenge. And in fact, just comment focused on fatherhood, all one word, focused on fatherhood. And I'll send you a link to the challenge. Join me in a 10-day challenge. Real simple process, 77 push-ups every single day for 10 days. All right. And at the end of the 10 days, if you don't feel better, more in control, with a sense of agency, a place, or a path to moving forward with your life, using the skills that you have. If at the end of those 10 days, you're not at a place where you're ready to move forward and to take further strides in growing in your mental health and being the best father that you can be. If at the end of those 10 days you're not at that place, unfollow me. Right? Don't listen to a word I have to say after that. But if it encourages you and it pushes you forward, I would encourage you to reach out. Let me know how the Fatherhood Challenge has impacted you, and schedule a call with me on how we can move forward in the challenge and potentially help other people in your community, in your workplace, in your city. This is all I got for you, man. If you're ready to make a change and move forward today, then let's start the Fatherhood Challenge. Message me, focused on fatherhood, and let's get started.